All right, good Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening, depending on where you define that cutoff switch for the afternoon and evening. But Chief Meteorologist Corbin Vogus here. We are live talking to you about some cold weather for the rest of the week in terms of our lows. And then we'll be focused on maybe that next big cold front coming through this weekend. But overall, much more manageable weather compared to this past weekend. Temperatures got up into the 40s, and even a few of us squeezed into the low 50s today. That's allowed a lot of that snow to compact and hopefully melt away. We're still going to have to do a little bit more of that tomorrow, especially in areas south of the Highway 60 corridor. Dimmitt had 8 inches of snow this weekend. You can obviously tell there's still a lot left around in the grassy areas and maybe some of the side streets that don't get utilized that often. But we did see some good melting today. We'll continue to see that through the rest of this week. Here were our highs for today. We made it to 48 in Amarillo, 55 in Tucumcari, and 51 there in Clovis, New Mexico. It's still 51 in Clovis right now. We have cooled off a tad there at 46, and you can really tell where that snow line for heavier snowpack is in between Clovis and Portales, and then in between Dimmitt and Hereford. You go from probably seeing a lot of upper 40s to higher 30s in that general area. That's where we had a lot of that heavier accumulation is down here in our southern counties. Here's our lows for tonight. We do expect to be back into the teens across most, if not the entire area. The exception to that rule might be up towards Union and Quay County, where we could have some pockets in the low 20s, but everyone will be below freezing. So take a jacket with you if you plan on heading outside pretty early in the day tomorrow. The afternoon, you'll start shaking a few of those layers off. You may even want the AC. That's kind of a joke tomorrow, but 53 is where we'll get to tomorrow. Should be a seasonal day for the high plains. Again, our normal high is about 54 tomorrow, and we'll end up seeing those temperatures moderate back up into those low 50s for a couple of hours. So it'll be a nice change for us. We should see plenty of sunshine on Wednesday, and then we'll end up seeing our next cold front come through on Wednesday night into Thursday. It won't bring those temperatures down a whole lot, but it will bring in some stronger winds, which we'll show you here on our map and model for a moment. Cold start tomorrow, lots of sunshine in the afternoon. Notice that southwest wind in the evening that gets turned around as we move into Thursday morning. By 8 a.m., that cold front likely going to be pushing across the area. And you can see there's a little bit of some snow up here in parts of Nebraska and Kansas. There may be a very subtle shortwave trough that we have to monitor or maybe keep our eyes on as we get into Thursday night and Friday. There's going to be another cold front that comes through too. But you can see again in that northwest flow, especially up here in parts of Colorado, Nebraska, maybe even to parts of Kansas, this is going to be flowing in a southeast direction, kind of like some of that stuff that we had on Sunday night, Monday morning. It's not out of the realm of possibility, especially Friday night into Saturday, for us to potentially get maybe some embedded snow showers within some of that mean flow aloft, and that is something that we'll just kind of monitor. I don't think it'll be a big risk for accumulating snow, but I think it's at least worth monitoring considering the rest of the week in the next 7 days is relatively quiet. The biggest story over the next 7 days will be the second cold front, which arrives on Friday night into Saturday. There's going to be a lot of temperatures in the 20s and 30s. We'll probably see temperatures about 20 to 30 degrees below normal for a 24-hour period, and that largely is going to impact us on Saturday, but we'll just get a glance blow from it. I don't think it's going to be a huge concern for a prolonged deep freeze this time around. We will see a lot of that actually get shoved off further east towards the southeast part of the country, and there is going to be a low that develops. There's probably, you've heard a lot of rumors about a big nor'easter maybe trying to develop there up in New England this weekend. Does look like that's a very real possibility. The exact track of that will determine on if that precipitation stays off the shore, or if maybe areas like Massachusetts, there, Boston, Falmouth, New York City potentially could see some additional winter weather from that big nor'easter that may get going over the course of this weekend. But the track for that one's still a little bit up in the air. So here's our temperature outlook through the next 6 to 10 days. I do want to kind of talk about this just because especially the precipitation chances, because you can see that we've actually got a splotch of green for the Lone Star State, even though we've got a big ridge built out over the west coast. There is something that we are keeping our eye on. And again, I think the reason why you're seeing that above average precipitation chances there in the Lone Star State is it has to do with our subtropical jet stream. You can see, so this is our winds aloft. This is your jet stream. You can see we've got this ridge building in on Wednesday here in the middle of the week. We have a lot of northwest flow over parts of Colorado and into Texas. And that's generally not great for moisture for us. But you can see again, we do get maybe a stronger jet on Thursday into Friday, but just a really big ridge kind of up here. A lot of that jet stream goes up and over the ridge and keeps us in a lot of northwest flow. Now, as we get into the first full week of February, look what happens here. You can see again a piece of good jet stream wave coming into British Columbia, but look at this. You get a little bit of some split flow down here, and we start to get a little bit of some southwest flow with the subtropical jet. And so maybe some better energy coming underneath this blocking high could be something to keep an eye on. And you can see again, we've got a ridge of high pressure up here, back over the northern extremes of Idaho and Washington. And then you've got this really positively tilted trough by the 5th of February. In fact, let's go ahead and take a look at the central part of the country. And you can see, actually, let's go over to the southwest. You've got this low here around the 5th of February, just kind of meandering down here near SoCal. This is something I think that we may need to watch, or at least keep somewhat of an eye on around that 4th, 5th, or 6th time frame. That's something that models have been hinting at, that we could maybe see some more active weather heading into the end of the first week of February and potentially into the second. And then if we go back over here towards the West Coast, you can see that, again, it really looks like that subtropical jet stream starts to really get going and cranking as we get into the middle of February. And that may tie in with our stratospheric warming event or our polar vortex disruption as well. So we'll see, again, if we just continue to get maybe some ridging over here. If we get troughing out over the eastern half of the U.S. towards the middle of the month, it looks like there's maybe a trough in the middle of the country right here. Let's take a look at our upper air heights. That'll give us a better indicator of that's relative humidity. You can see, again, maybe a trough here, maybe a trough potentially building in over the Canadian prairie. Again, this is just a deterministic run, so take this with a huge grain of salt. But if we have this forming, and then let's go ahead and take a look at the northern hemisphere. We're going to go up into the stratosphere. I want to show you again this thing as well. There is a huge batch of hot air over the North Pole, and this is what you would consider to be a stratospheric warming event. Now let's go ahead and look at our ensemble, because that's going to give us a better idea of maybe what to expect within that timetable and that time range. You can see definitely a stretched polar vortex over here as we get into the 6th of February. But then this thing starts to split, and this is what models have been trying to allude to and point towards as we get towards maybe February 10th to the 14th time frame. If we do get a stratospheric warming event out here, and we do get a lot of a blocking high or a ridge over Greenland and back over Siberia, that can help allow for some cross-polar flow, and that basically would open the door for cold air to maybe get sent south through the plains, pending the placement of our troughs in our upper air heights. So we'll go ahead and take a quick look at some of this stuff too. You can see, again, definitely some troughing over here. There is a ridge over Greenland, and there is a ridge over Siberia. And so I do think that this may be worth monitoring. This does not guarantee us winter weather here in the Texas Panhandle. Moisture is kind of a rare commodity, or a limited one anyway, for us this far west. But for areas in the East Coast, this La Nina-like pattern may continue, and it doesn't rule out maybe cold air getting into the central plains as well. I mean, we've only got about 6 or 7 barbed wire fences between us and Canada, and so there's not a whole lot to stop that cold air to get displaced all the way down towards the Gulf coast. So I do think it may be something to at least keep on the back burner. We're not saying that it's going to happen, but if we do get a stratospheric warming event and we do get troughing to build out here across the eastern half of the country, that can certainly open the door for cold air intrusion. And we've already had some winter weather down here. If we get some additional winter weather in the central part of the country, that can act as kind of a step down process where you've got some good snowpack, especially you definitely have a lot of snowpack up in the Great Lakes area. And if we continue to maybe get some snow a bit further south, that can act as almost like a step down process to help that cold air spill even further to the south. So I think it's something to at least keep an eye on as we get into the second half of February. So here's a look at your 7-day tracker. We are going to stay quiet for the next 7 days. We do have a 10% pop in the forecast on Saturday morning mainly. We could see again maybe a very subtle short wave come through Friday night into Saturday morning, kind of like what we had on Monday morning, where maybe some patchy spots of snow try to develop. I think it would be in the Eastern Panhandle if it happens. Perryton, Canadian, that's probably where we'll have the best chance for maybe some of those spotty snow showers. It wouldn't be much. It would be kind of like Monday morning. If you get a ½ inch of snow accumulation, you're probably one of the heavier amounts that actually verifies to get reported. So don't bet the farm on getting significant snow or significant moisture with it. It's just worth noting. You may have a fresh blanket there, at least for an hour in the morning on Saturday before it melts away. That is all we have for you. Thank you so much for stopping by. Enjoy the rest of your evening and